Hey there, and welcome to the SBVC Centennial Podcast. My name is Thomas Robles, and I am a proud alumnus here at SBVC. This podcast is part of SBVC's Centennial Celebration. Each episode, we will highlight the people that make SBVC way more than just a college. We'll talk to alumni, faculty, staff, local leaders, and community partners about how this campus opened doors, built careers, and inspired generations. Welcome to the SBVC Centennial Podcast, where we celebrate 100 years of stories here at San Bernardino Valley College. Hey everybody, my name is Thomas Robles, and welcome back to the San Bernardino Valley College Centennial Podcast. Before we start, I wanted to take a quick moment to shout out the FTVM department, the faculty, the staff, the professional experts, everybody here in the space. Thank you for allowing us to use this wonderful podcast space for our project. It really means the world. Thank you so much. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Mike Sola, a Hall of Famer here at San Bernardino Valley College, who served for 37 years as the head athletic trainer here at Valley College. Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity to converse here.
Of course, Mike. I gotta tell you, everybody on campus has nothing but wonderful things to say about you. Your time and your influence on campus is still felt post your retirement. Tell me, how are you feeling in this centennial year at Valley College?
Oh, it's exciting. I'm feeling great. It's just great to see my school. I never say former school because I'll always be a Valley guy. To see all the wonderful things, all the events that are going on around the campus just today, looking around and seeing the energy, the atmosphere, and it's fun. It's a fun time to be around Valley College.
I'll say, as an alumni, as someone who works on campus now, I'm telling you, there's events literally every day, if not every other day. It's just so vibrant, and I'm glad that you're feeling that now as a community member and as a campus leader.
Well, it's not every day that we have a century of Valley. I mean, that's 100 years. Good Lord, that's a long time.
Absolutely.
But here we are.
Here we are. And so, Mike, I wanted to ask, before we get into your career and all of your favorite stories on campus, who were you before you came to Valley College? What did you do for work? Where did you come from?
I was a little kid in Cuba that had a father that was a pediatrician, and the military age in communist Cuba was 14. So at 13, my dad was a radio am, and he made a lot of connections in Central and South America. So he got me out of there, by way of Mexico, then going across Central America. I mean, I was on a lot of airplanes in Costa Rica, then to Chicago, and where I went to high school out there, and from that point on, we moved to California. My aunt raised me, and I attended, back in Illinois, I attended I'm familiar with the community college system. A big fan of it. I attended Morton Community College, Morton Junior College, and then I went to Northeastern Illinois. Then I just fell in love with the field of sports medicine. It kind of made sense to me. It's one of those things where you just know this is what I want to do for a living. And we moved out here. I attended Long Beach State University, graduated from there. And then a series of jobs came my way. I interviewed and got I substituted at Cerritos College, because the trainer had just had bypass surgery. And that was Frank Mazzotta's first year. We won a conference championship in our first year. And also one of the big points in my life was when he came to me and said, listen, St. Paul High School in Whittier needs a trainer. And the gentleman's name is Marion Ansich, who is a legend, winningest football coach in high school in California. I went there, and it was a life-changing experience. I learned a lot, not just about sports, but just about people, family, and everything in general. And then I got the job at Marina High School. I interviewed and got the job at Marina High School in Huntington Beach. And from that point, that's when the job at Valley College opened up. And I really didn't want to leave the friendly confines of Huntington Beach. But my athletic director at the time, Andy Donegan, said, Mike, you're foolish if you don't try to get this job. So I did, and I applied, and I was fortunate that I worked for Wally Kincaid, who's a big-time baseball coach at Cerritos. We just won the state championship in baseball. And he put in a good word for me here to Steve Smith, who at the time was the head baseball coach here. So I applied, and at first, you're not going to believe this, but I actually turned the job down. Actually turned the Valley College job down. I just didn't feel comfortable with a number of things, making a horizontal move, salary-wise and all that. But we worked things out, and I got to I tell you what, Joe Baca Sr., the famous congressman whose son later played for us here at Valley College.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played on our baseball team for San Sanchez. He called me, and I tell you what, he was tremendous. He sold me on this college, and I came here to check it out, and the rest is history. I didn't think I was going to stick around for 37 years, but I did, and it changed my life.
Mike, you said that you spent 37 years here at Valley College, and that's a huge part of its centennial history. What did that look like? When you zoom out, how does your story fit in the overarching centennial story?
I always believed that I came to Valley at a time where the modern athletic department, the golden era, started to materialize. My very first year here, we won the state championship in football. We had that iconic 1982 undefeated untied team that went to Riverside City College and was played in the Lions Bowl. I think I mentioned that was the first time that they televised the game on cable television in the area. And we went there, and we were picked to lose by 2-3 touchdowns, and we kind of stuck it to them. So that was the beginning right there. But what followed was just, God Almighty, it's a series of state championships we've had. I was fortunate enough to have been part of eight state championships. When you think about it. 5 in a row, which still baffles the imagination. Cross-country team won 5 state titles in a row. We lost a couple of state championships in basketball. But we also, I had a volleyball team that was called the Magnificent Seven that Dave Rubio coached. 7 players, and they went undefeated all the way to the semifinals or the quarterfinals. No, semifinals of the volleyball state championship. That is an amazing feat. So I was very fortunate. We had the 92 football team, the 82 team. It was a wonderful golden era. Sometimes you take it for granted when you win so much. And when you look back in retrospect, that was an amazing. I was surrounded by great athletes.
Sure.
The baseball team going to the state finals with San Sanchez several times. On and on and on. It was just, it was an exciting time.
Mike, you worked with generations of student athletes. Are there any common traits that you've seen across the students in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s? Are there things that stand out to you that are the same or different?
Toughness. If you play at Valley College, and a lot of people say that my dad used to say, I used to get so upset when my team would lose. And my dad said, well, you can win them all, son. And I used to counter back with, yeah, Dad, but I want to win them all. Our student athletes were just tough. That's the one common thread that we had, both male and female. They were just, if you put on that jersey for Valley College, you represented athletic toughness, the Valley way. That's what we called it. In all sports, all the way across. I mean, it was tough, gritty, athletes. And that's the one common thread that I can say without any shadow of a doubt that they all had.
Mike, when I reflect on the role of an athletic trainer, I really feel like that's a part of the history of campus that people don't often get to see. Can you paint a picture for me and the audience? What is it like to be an athletic trainer at San Bernardino Valley College? What was that like for you?
It was, when I first got here, I think the world of sports medicine, this is back in 1982, it was a bit archaic, okay? So we brought some modernization and brought it into, the mainstream. And I always thank my student trainers because, see, when people come to a sporting event, okay, naturally so, if you come to a football game, you're going to get there an hour before, a half hour before, get your seat, go to the concession stand, get your food, et cetera, et cetera. Our day for a 7 p.m. game would start at noon. okay? And then with treatment, taping, setup, people don't see that. And when you recruit student trainers, there's always three types, okay? One, you're going to get the one that's kind of like, let me see if this is for me. I'm not so sure. It's nice to be seen, et cetera, et cetera. The second one is the type that's going to go into the medical field, and not necessarily athletic training, but they're going to go into the medical field and they gain a great experience from what we offer them. And the third type is the type that really makes it a profession, and they're the ones that do go on and become very successful. But it just tests the commitment of a person, because you're putting in clinical hours that's going towards your profession. It's no different than a doctor or nurse that need to do their clinical hours. You're just doing it in a different field, a different setup. So the things people don't see is the hard work that's put in hours and hours before a contest, regardless of the sport, and after the contest.
Sure.
Okay, and just the day-to-day therapy, interaction with the athlete, and the greatest satisfaction, I think, somebody once told me, one of the greatest gifts in life is to be able to heal. And I think we did that as well as we possibly could with what we had to work with. Things have gotten a lot better, obviously, since then, back in '82. But that's the interaction you get with your athletes, with your student athletes, is for a lifetime, because they never forget you. I mean, I still run into former athletes that just, and the first thing I say to them is, "Hey, great to see you. How's your shoulder?" And he goes, "Oh my God, you remember? Yeah, you remember him by the injuries." But to have an athlete come back from seemingly limping off the field or being carried off the field, and 2 or 3 weeks later being able to go back out there, it's very rewarding. It's something that it's what it's all about, really.
That rewarding feeling really resonates with me. Before we go into our next question, I'd love to ask you about your team. So you've talked about the students, right? And you might get into the students a little later. What about the team that you worked with? What were they like?
My medical team?
Yeah.
Well, I was blessed because I had two of the greatest physicians that any person could have. The legendary Hall of Fame Ron Bangasser was an influence in my life. He and Susan, his wife, they got me involved in scuba diving, which is one of my passions now. And then Ken Lane, who's just a wonderful. They were both wonderful people, wonderful friends, and just very supportive. I mean, the most important thing was the care of our athletes, and sometimes you have to make decisions where, like, hey, you know what, you're probably not going to be able to play this week, but we want to get you ready for the following week. But as athletes, I always said, and I told this to all my students and all my student athletes, I said, look, you want to play. You don't want to sit in the sidelines. My job is to get you to play safely, but get you back on the field, because that's how you're going to get your scholarship. That's how you're going to get your film. That's what you're going to get noticed. You're not going to do it by sitting down. I have a friend of mine who's a head trainer, a former basketball player here, Pat Walsh. His brother played on the '82 team. He played basketball here. He's now the head trainer at Cal State San Bernardino, and he has a great saying. He goes, "Hey," to his student athletes, he goes, "You don't want to be sitting next to me during the game, shooting a breeze. You want to be out there playing, so you better get in here and do your therapy and take care of business." So, yeah.
Mike, over the years, you've seen students at the highest of highs and the most setback of setbacks. Can you recall a moment that stuck with you in your time at Valley College with one of those stories?
One comes to mind right away. We had this gal, Shanice Stewart, who wound up going to Texas Tech University. And she was a defending, I hope I'm right, triple jump or a high jump, one of those two. She was a defending state champion as a freshman. Well, she's getting ready to compete again and go to the state finals in Fresno. And in practice, she suffers a freak injury where she twists her ankle. And when they brought her in, I think it was on a Monday, her ankle was like the size of a balloon. And, it's no way that she was going to be able to defend her title. And the poor thing, and she worked so hard, and we determined that with the x-ray that it wasn't fractured. So we got after it, and we just hours and hours and hours every day. And we got her well enough and with a special tape job that she could go and try to compete. And I was hoping for the best. And I'll never forget that Saturday at the state finals, I got a phone call from Mike Powell, who was the track and field coach, and it was her, excuse me, on the phone. She goes, somebody wants to talk to you. And I thought it was another trainers in the state finals. And it was Shanice telling me that I just won the state championship, and my last jump, I faulted on the first one, I think on the first two, and her ankle was just well enough to just give her one last try, and she beat everybody on the last try and won the state championship. That's the one thing that sticks with me, that story. There's many others. And you know what? When trainers say, I've talked to trainers and they say, you know what, the tough losses and the great wins, I'm just out there to do my job. It doesn't stick with me and all that. They're lying. The losses stick with you, the tough losses. You're part of that family. So when you lose a state championship, it sticks with you. And when you win one, it sticks with you as well. And I always thought about, when we're talking about, oh, good Lord. I mean, I always said that is the one story, and there's many others, but there's a one story of that gal that's always stuck with me because she worked so hard against every impossible odd imaginable. I didn't think especially the event. If it was a javelin throw or something like that, well, you can tape the ankle and they're going to push off, but mainly everything is upper body. But it was triple jump or high jump, and at state level in California, which is, everybody was hunting for her, and she won it on the last jump. And I'll never forget that. I hung up that phone, and I was just staring into space going, wow. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless.
Mike, as I reflect on the Centennial, SBVC has been a place of access, of opportunity, of equity. You've seen change, not just in the classroom, not just on the field. You've seen change with our students. What sticks out to you the most with those changes?
We get kids that enter this university, student athletes, as teenagers, and they leave as men and women. That to me, it's the biggest thing, that the growth, sometimes painful, not just athletically, but emotionally. And as a trainer, a lot of athletes confide in you things that they cannot tell even their parents. So you're almost like a personal, mentor to them, both not just in sports medicine, but just, on and off the field. So to me, that is what, to me that I always said before that athletics, you have a limited life as an athlete, and what are you going to do after your athletic career is over? Do you have a life plan? And to me, that's the thing. A lot of these kids, they come in, and justifiably so, they don't know what they're going to do. A lot of these athletes are successful in high school. Then they get to this level here, and you find out that, hey, I'm competing with 3 other people who are just as good as I am, if not better. So, if you get injured, I mean, you can't afford to be missing practice. Or if I am going to miss practice, I mean, I've had athletes that in between classes would come in and to put their feet in a bucket of ice while they were reading and doing their homework with electrical simulation and all that. Just work, because they wanted to go back out there. To see the growth from teenagers to grown men and women, that's what it's all about. That's what this community college is about, especially in athletics.
Mike, I saw your name all over the campus. In 2019, you were inducted into the Valley College Athletic Hall of Fame. What did that honor mean to you?
It's hard to put into words, but I'll try. You think about all the great names that have made Valley College athletics. I mean, my goodness, Gene Mazzei, who's a Hall of Famer, what he did with men's volleyball made it a national powerhouse. He literally rescued football, and he won a state championship. I mean, Bob Smith and the great wrestling teams, I'm sure, our colleague Dr. Lane has alluded to, it validates, it's for life, it's forever. I may not be on God's green earth, but generations to come are going to see my name, and hopefully I'll inspire them. Here I am, a little kid from Cuba that winds up being in the Hall of Fame, not just at Valley College. I was honored to be inducted in the Hall of Fame at St. Paul High School because I was, helping with the team, that 82 team. Yeah, the 82 team. So it's an honor. It's the ultimate honor. It is the ultimate honor because you think of all the great athletes that have come through here. I mean, you saw that wall. Like the Dino Ebels, the Craig Newsoms of the world. I mean, Rich Dower. On and on and on. Stan Sanchez, Ken Blumenthal, all these guys. I mean, it's just to be part of that fraternity and sorority. I mean, it's a unique honor. It's a humbling honor. To me, it's, they always say you sit on the shoulders of giants or whatever. My student trainers, they helped me so much. The athletic directors that I work with, the coaches out here just coach so hard. I mean, I can go on and on and on. All the coaches, they know who I'm talking about. It's been an honor just to be part of that. And, I'm in a Hall of Fame because of them. That's the way I look at it. It's not. It takes a village.
So this is our last question. We ask this with all of our guests. It is the backbone of our entire project. I'm going to ask you, to you, San Bernardino Valley College is, and it could be a statement, a sentence, a word, and if you could say it in a whole sentence. To you, to me, right? San Bernardino Valley College is blank.
A life-changing experience for me. The great Jim McKay once said, sometimes your loneliest situation is your greatest opportunity. I didn't want to come here, but I'm glad I did. It changed my life. It's the greatest. I give 37 years that I was here. It was a life changer, and now it's Valley and me are it's a lifetime bond that will never be broken. So as they say, Valley up.
Valley up, and we'll end on that. Mike, it was an honor to interview you. Thank you so much for your time.
The honor was mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. To those that are watching, thank you, Mike, for your time. Thank you to FTVM for letting us use your space in this awesome studio. Thank you to Daniel for all the work that you do behind the scenes. Everybody, we'll catch you in the next episode. Valley up.